I remember being a young teenager and reading these little books about World War II, the history of World War II. And I was really stricken by the development of Nazism in Germany. I remember a friend asked me, "Why are you reading about all this?" And I told them, no, I remember what I told them. I told them what I learned is that I would have been a really good Nazi. And he was rather shocked. I didn't seem that kind of person. I told them, yes, reading history, I see that if I had been a young person growing up in Germany, a good Aryan, I would have bought on the message because it was so prevalent, so you were so immersed into it, submerged into it. And I told them I realized that I had to think for myself, that when somebody tells me something, I had to be wondering, does it make sense? And I was exposed constantly to the need to discern truth. My father was subscribed to two newspapers. He was a communist, so he received the communist paper. But then he was subscribed to a conservative newspaper. So every morning he got two different points of view, and he said that he always wanted to read what the opposition was saying. Now for me, who I was more neutral, I found that rather amazing because I was exposed every day to very opposite views. And I mentioned this before. Then I lived under military dictatorship growing up, again in my teenage years, starting at age 13. And it was a constant bombardment of distortions of truth and lies and things that require a strong judgment. Growing up, I like books, I like studying, but I also got easily distracted by TV, and it was escape. This belongs more to an earlier talk about distractions, and there was so much fear that the distraction was good. It was it let time pass, it let escape the harsh reality we were surrounded by. But at the same time, I worried about watching too much TV and wasting time, wasting life. I felt like, God, I could be doing something else, and I was pushing myself. And maybe this was about the time where I ran into this Umberto Eco writing about exactly that. And Umberto Eco said that was saying that watching TV is not the problem. The problem is whether we watch it with a critical mind or not. And that was exactly what I had been trying to say for a while. I love it when some thinker says that what you have been looking or forward to saying or trying to say. And he was saying TV is just putting a message. It depends, it's up to you to have a critical mind and say, wait, does it make any sense? Is this good for me? Is this true? And I guess it's a skill we acquired, and these days it's being lost because we are being exposed more and more selectively through electronic media to sources of information that reinforce what we believe. We have selective attention, and we even look for information that reinforces what we believe and discard what goes against what we believe, and that's the opposite of having a critical mind. And it's a skill, yeah, you can hone. And I constantly, I remember this beautiful partner of mine telling me once that Einstein said the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. And the moment I heard that, I was, wait, that doesn't sound like Einstein. And I went and did a search, and yes, that's one thing. And no, that's not something Einstein said. It's something that is attributed to him and gets repeated a lot. And there are lots of things attributed to Einstein because there's nothing like saying Einstein said something. So if I tell you Einstein said we should have a critical mind at all times, it sounds really good as opposed to me saying it. It's just raining across the river. Fantastic. It'll be raining here any second. Also, about that time, I remember somebody telling me, I think a literature professor, there's a phrase in Spanish that gets repeated an awful lot, and is that Ladran Sancho's Iñaki Caminamos, and apparently that's Cervantes from the major Spanish literary work by Saavedra, saying, that's Don Quixote, the major work by Cervantes. That's Don Quixote telling Sancho, Ladran Sancho's Iñaki Caminamos. Meaning that if you're moving, the dogs are going to bark at you. So that's a good sign. And it's used usually in a figurative sense, in a Spanish word, when if you're saying something and people argue against you or even they scream against you, you say Ladran Sancho, Iñaki Caminamos, saying that the people who are attacking you because you're moving forward, and at the same time you're calling them dogs. So it's a very handy one. But then this professor told me that that's not anywhere in Don Quixote. So something that is attributed to Cervantes. I guess Cervantes is an equivalent, Einstein equivalent. And today, these days, critical mind is constantly challenged because there's content. Everybody seems to be a content creator today and can say anything or put fake videos out there. And I've seen so many fake videos that people send me saying, "Look, amazing how this happened," and it's like, no, that doesn't seem real, and most of the time it's not. Sometimes people make mistakes because they don't check information carefully. Remember a friend sending me a picture of this pink dolphin in Louisiana, in a river in Louisiana, and the article had a description talking about how these river dolphins are small in number, and the pink dolphins, and blah blah blah, and I'm in the Amazonia, and I know the pink dolphins belong here. This is species in the Amazonia, but they are not in Louisiana. And the picture she sent, you could tell even at the distance that this was actually an albino dolphin. In one of the pictures, you can actually see the albino dolphin with the mother, who has regular dolphin coloration. And the river must have been one of these Gulf of Mexico rivers that are salty and where dolphins can go up the river, but it's not a river dolphin, not a freshwater dolphin. By the way, in Spanish, freshwater is agua dulce, sweet water. Yeah, just raining across the river. Here comes a boat going very fast downriver. Hope they don't run into a stone. the need for speed. So let's have a critical mind. There's an entire philosophy movement or philosophy positioning that is based on having a critical mind, and that's what is that called? Not sarcastic, it's with an S, right? It's, boy, I swam too much. And that Greek, it comes from a Greek philosopher that basically was the thing about having a critical mind. Now, a critical mind doesn't mean denying everything. There are facts and there are matters of opinion, and I'm not going to argue if you believe in God or you're the God you believe in. I'm not going to argue against for it, because that's something that cannot be argued about. It's your belief, and I respect it. As long as it doesn't hurt others or yourself. And that's a different thing. We have to be careful, because religious can be misogynist. Religion replaces the mother on earth with the father in heaven. Sounds like we have a new theme, more controversial. Keep a critical mind, enjoy life, but there are moments where we must be critical. Otherwise, lies get passed around. Some of them are harmless, and some can be very harmless. Stereotypes that are very harmful get passed along because people are not critical, and they pause and say, wait, why am I going to believe that people from a particular country are so and so? For me, the most revelatory moment was when I realized I would have been a good Nazi. It was a recognition as a teenager, and I shared it with a friend, and he was shocked. But he's being honest. I would have been a good Nazi if I had grown up in that environment without having had a chance to have developed my critical mind. If I had come in a little later, when I was already 15, 16, I would have been having a different awareness. But if I had been caught as a youth at age 13 or 12 by the Nazi movement, I would have embraced it. It was inspiring, empowering, and this goes back to the feeling of having power to actually having power. Don't suffer about everything you hear. There are things that are not affecting us or others. But have a critical mind. Don't buy lies. And sometimes stand against lies or deception, stereotyping. Guy talk about women, for instance. Women had to stand up, and I have seen us not doing it enough or not doing it at all, basically just letting it slide. And letting it slide is not good enough. And that's another story. A coda to the critical mind. When to switch off the critical mind. As I was saying before, if there's not harm to be done to anyone, maybe it's okay not to have the critical mind on. Enjoy that movie, enjoy that TV show. And there are moments, brainstorming is the example of moments where we had to completely turn off a critical mind to be productive. In brainstorming, we embrace new ideas without criticizing them at first. Because that way we can be creative. We are not judging. Sometimes we cut short ourselves by judging what we're doing. Creative endeavors, again, if there's no harm being done, require the critical mind to be off. Many people don't practice arts because they feel they cannot do it. They don't draw because their mind is saying, I cannot draw. We tell that kids early on and they acquire that, oh, I'm not good at drawing. I'm not good at dancing. I'm not good at singing. I'm not good at playing an instrument. I'm sorry, we can all draw, dance, sing, play instruments. Do we do it like a professional? Do we do it at the level that everybody else enjoys? That's a different question, but we can do it. We had to switch off that critical mind, the limiting mind, the mind that imposes limits on ourselves and on others. That's the different, completely different thing. A critical mind is not used to put down people, to criticize them. The critical mind is directed at ideas, information, beliefs,